My name is Dorothy Reynolds. I'm 38 years old, and I built my software company from the ground up. 6 years ago, it was nothing but an idea scratched out on a notepad and a laptop balanced on a cardboard box in my garage. I lived on instant ramen, slept less than 5 hours a night, and poured everything I had into it. Now, the company is worth more than $4.2 million, employs 12 people, and has been profitable for the last 3 years. It isn't just a business to me. It's proof that the sacrifices weren't wasted. Every late night, every empty fridge, every time I told myself just one more week when I thought I couldn't go on, it all built something real, something solid. And then over dinner last week, my husband nearly asked me to burn it all down. We were sitting at our dining table, the faint clink of cutlery, the only sound between us. I had just finished telling Alex about a new client we'd landed, and I was expecting him to smile, maybe congratulate me. Instead, he cleared his throat and said almost casually, "Dorothy, I need to talk to you about Amber." Amber, his younger sister, the one who'd never kept a job longer than 8 months, the one who was always on the verge of her big break. My fork slowed halfway to my mouth. Here we go again, I thought. "What about her?" I asked. Alex's gaze flickered hesitation, then resolve. She's got an incredible opportunity this time. She just needs capital to get started. $1 million. I nearly choked. "$1 million, Alex? Are you serious?" "She's been networking," he insisted quickly. "She wants to launch a consulting firm, marketing, brand development, that sort of thing. She already has potential clients lined up." I set my fork down carefully as if I were handling glass. Amber. The same Amber who's been posting crypto scams on Facebook. His jaw tightened. She's serious this time. She deserves a chance. "And Dorothy, you're doing well. You can afford to help family." There it was. The word that always seemed to justify anything with Alex's family. My company isn't liquid cash. Even if it were, throwing $1 million into Amber's consulting firm would be the same as setting it on fire. I told him so. But Alex didn't budge. His face went cold, his voice sharp. "If you won't give it willingly, then sell the company or take out a loan against it. Amber needs this chance." I just stared at him. "Are you even listening to yourself? You're asking me to destroy everything I've worked for, everything we live on for your sister's pipe dream." "You're being selfish," he snapped. "You're choosing money over family." The silence that followed felt like a crack running through glass. Finally, I said steady and calm, "Let me call my lawyer." Alex's eyes narrowed. "Why would you need a lawyer?" "Because," I replied, my voice colder than I'd ever heard it, "you just asked me to liquidate my business for your unemployed sister, and I need to understand exactly what my options are." I picked up my phone, dialed Veronica, my attorney, and put her on speaker. "Veronica, hi, quick question," I said when she answered. "If my husband is demanding I sell my business to fund his sister's venture, what protections do I have?" Veronica didn't even hesitate. "The prenup protects the company, Dorothy. He has no legal claim to it. But we should discuss asset protection strategies. Can you come into the office tomorrow morning?" "Yes, 9 a.m. works." I hung up, looked at Alex. "There's your answer." His face was red with fury. His hand trembled as he set down his glass. "You just humiliated me." "You just asked me to throw away 6 years of work for Amber," I said quietly. "We're even." He pushed back his chair so hard it screeched against the floor, stormed off down the hall, and slammed the bedroom door. I sat there in silence, the taste of dinner gone bitter in my mouth. And for the first time, I realized Veronica hadn't just been talking about money when she said protection strategies. She was talking about me, about my marriage, about what I might have to protect myself from next. The next morning, I sat across from Veronica in her sleek, glass-walled office, the city skyline glinting behind her. She had already spread out a stack of documents across the polished desk. "Dorothy," she said firmly, "your prenup is solid. Alex can't touch the business directly. But there's a loophole." I frowned. "What kind of loophole?" "If he claims that marital assets were co-mingled, say if Amber's living expenses or family gifts were paid through company accounts, he could argue for a claim in divorce proceedings. Or if he argues your company grew because of marital contributions, even vague ones, it could get messy." I shook my head. "Marital contributions, Alex has never worked a single day for this company. He doesn't even know what our clients' names are." Veronica leaned in. "I believe you. But in court, belief isn't enough. We need airtight protection. I recommend restructuring the company into an irrevocable trust, retroactive with documentation dating back before your marriage. That way, even if Alex tries to come after it, the trust owns everything, not you personally." It hit me like a punch. So I'd be moving my life's work into a vault I can't open. You'd still be the trustee and beneficiary, she explained gently. You control the company, the profits, everything. But Alex Amber, even the courts, none of them can force a sale. I thought about it. About the 6 years I spent clawing my way here, about the employees who depended on me, about Alex's cold eyes across the dinner table. Do it, I said. My voice didn't shake, but inside something cracked. 3 days later, the Reynolds Business Trust was real. My company now belonged to a fortress of paperwork with me as the only one holding the keys. The legal fees stung, but the sense of safety was worth every dollar. When I came home that night, Alex barely looked at me. He hadn't spoken much since the dinner argument. Just silence. Cold, loaded silence. But Thursday evening, he broke it with backup. I walked into our living room to find Alex sitting stiffly on the couch. Beside him were Amber, his mother Lorraine, and his father Frank. They looked like an intervention team waiting to pounce. My stomach dropped. What is this? Lorraine stood first, her face solemn, her tone rehearsed. Dorothy, we need to talk about Amber's opportunity. No, I said flatly. We don't. Frank cleared his throat, that deep, paternal rumble meant to sound reasonable. Dorothy, we're family. Alex says you've been difficult about helping Amber get started. This isn't just about her, it's about the family's future. I laughed, a sharp, humorless sound that made Amber's eyes narrow. Amber's 33. She's had more opportunities than I can count, all of them ending the same way. I am not gambling $1 million on another one. Amber finally spoke, her voice dripping with indignation. This is different. I've done the research. The market's there. I just need the capital. Then get a business loan, I snapped. That's what entrepreneurs do. Her cheeks flushed. Banks won't lend to someone without collateral. You know that. Exactly, I shot back. If a bank won't trust you with their money, why should I? Amber bristled. It's not taking, it's investing. I'll pay you back. I almost laughed again. Amber, you still owe me $3,000 from when I helped you fix your car 2 years ago. Her face turned crimson. That was different. How, I asked? You promised to pay me back then, too. Lorraine jumped in, her voice sharp as a blade. Dorothy, you make plenty of money. People with means help their family. That's what decent people do. I stared at her. I worked for 6 years to build this company. Amber's worked for 6 years to avoid responsibility. Don't compare the two. Alex's voice was cold, distant. So that's it. You're just going to let my sister fail? She's not failing, I said. She's just not succeeding with my money. Frank tried the dad voice, low and stern. Think about your husband, Dorothy. Think about the family's future. Amber's success would benefit everyone. I stood slowly, my heart hammering. My company's success is my success. And the success of 12 employees who actually work for it. I'm not gambling with that. The room went heavy. Amber rose too, her chin lifted in defiance. You're going to regret this, Dorothy. I met her eyes without flinching. Is that a threat? Her smile was razor thin. It's reality. Family remembers who helped and who didn't. The words hung in the air like smoke. I pointed toward the door. Get out, all of you. This meeting is over. They filed out, muttering, throwing daggers at me with their eyes. Alex went with them, not even glancing back. When he returned an hour later, he didn't say a word, just brushed past me and shut himself in the bedroom. I sat alone in the quiet house, staring at the dark window, Amber's words echoing in my mind. Family remembers. And for the first time, I wondered what exactly were they planning to make me remember. The silence in our house became unbearable. Alex no longer argued. He didn't plead. He didn't even look at me the same way. Instead, he simmered his anger, hidden behind short answers and slammed doors. One morning over breakfast, he finally broke the quiet. His voice was calm, too calm. I've been thinking, he said, stirring his coffee. Amber doesn't need the full $1 million. $500,000 would be enough. That's reasonable, isn't it? I froze spoon halfway to my mouth. He wasn't negotiating with me. He was testing me, as if lowering the number somehow made this lunacy acceptable. Alex, I said slowly. It was no at $1 million. It's still no at $500,000. It's no at any amount. Your sister doesn't need funding. She needs responsibility. He slammed his mug down so hard, hot coffee splashed across the table. You didn't even think about it. There's nothing to think about, I snapped back. I will not destroy 6 years of my life for your sister's fantasy. Something in his eyes darkened. He grabbed the ceramic mug again, hurled it across the room. It shattered against the wall, shards, scattering across the hardwood floor. You're destroying this family, he shouted. I'm protecting what I built. For a moment, he just stood there, chest heaving, jaw tight. Then he grabbed his keys and stormed out, slamming the front door behind him. That night I checked my phone. His location sharing, something we'd both forgotten about, showed him at his parents' house. He hadn't even tried to hide it. I told myself to stay focused on my company. But the next day, reality hit harder. At 2 in the afternoon, my business partner Leo called. His voice was tense. "Dorothy, did you know Alex has been contacting our clients?" My stomach dropped. "What are you talking about?" "Mrs. Patterson called me. She said Alex reached out, told her you were having personal issues, that the company might be unstable, asked if she had concerns about contract fulfillment." The air went cold around me. Mrs. Patterson was our biggest client, $340,000 a year in revenue. "What did she say?" I asked, my throat tight. I told her everything was fine, that it was just family drama. She seemed reassured. "But Dorothy, this is bad. Really bad." I hung up my hands, trembling, and immediately dialed Veronica. "Veronica, Alex is contacting clients, telling them lies about the company. He's trying to sabotage me." "Document everything," she said crisply. "Get statements from the clients. If contracts are jeopardized, we can pursue legal action for tortious interference. But for now, send a professional reassurance to all clients. Contain the damage." I drafted the email that night. Formal, calm, professional. No dirty laundry, no accusations. Just reassurance that our company with strong contracts were safe and rumors were baseless. Leo told me it was the right move, but inside I felt sick. My husband wasn't just siding with his sister anymore, he was attacking me, attacking what I'd built. The next morning, Alex called. His voice was tight venom laced beneath forced calm. "You sent me a cease and desist letter." "Yes," I said, "because you tried to sabotage my business." "I was trying to make you see reason," he snapped, "by lying to my clients. This is your fault." His voice cracked, rising into a shout. "If you had just helped Amber, none of this would be happening." I closed my eyes, steadying my breath. "The company is in a trust now, Alex. Even if I wanted to hand over money, I legally can't. You and Amber need to accept that." Silence on the line, then a stunned whisper. "You put the company in a trust." "Yes. After you demanded I liquidate it for her." "You did this on purpose," he hissed. "Yes," I said, my voice flat as stone. "On purpose. To protect everything I built." For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then he said the words I'd been bracing for. "I want a divorce." Something inside me cracked, but not the way he wanted. Not with fear. With finality. "Okay," I said quietly. "If that's what you want, we'll get a divorce. I won't fight for someone who treats me like an ATM." He went silent, blindsided. Then the line went dead. That night, I sat in my office staring at the framed photo of us on our wedding day. His hand on mine, his smile so wide, so certain. I traced the edge of the frame, my chest aching with something heavier than anger betrayal. This wasn't about Amber anymore. This was about Alex choosing her over me. The divorce papers hadn't even been filed yet, but Alex and his family acted like the war was already underway. It began with Amber. 3 days after Alex's outburst, my receptionist Jenny buzzed me on the intercom, her voice nervous. "Dorothy, Amber's here, in the lobby. She's demanding to see you." My pulse spiked. "Tell her I'm not available." A pause. "She said she won't leave until you talk to her." I clenched my jaw. "Call security. If she refuses to go, call the police." 10 minutes later, I watched from my office window as 2 officers escorted Amber out of the building. Even from 5 stories up, I could see the fury in her eyes, her mouth moving in furious accusations. By the end of the week, I had a restraining order in place. Amber was barred from coming within 500 feet of me or my business. But she wasn't the only one sharpening her knives. The phone calls started next, not from Amber, but from Lorraine. One evening, my mother called, confusion heavy in her voice. "Dorothy, I need to ask you something. Lorraine says you've been financially abusive, that you've cut Alex off from money, that you're controlling him." I almost dropped the phone. "What?" "She told everyone at church you won't even let him pay bills, that you've trapped him financially." Rage bubbled up sharp and hot. "That's a lie. I've paid for everything for years. Alex barely brings in income with his yoga classes, and now they're twisting it to make me the villain." My mother went silent for a beat, then sighed. "I thought so. I knew Lorraine was spinning this. She doesn't understand what financial abuse really is. But I'll set the record straight." And she did. My mother, retired family court judge Sharp as ever, called Lorraine personally. She explained in her calm, precise voice that demanding someone liquidate their company for a sibling's unproven scheme was financial abuse. That Alex and Amber's attempts to undermine my business were legally and morally indefensible. The calls stopped after that, at least from Lorraine. But Frank wasn't done. One Sunday morning, I was sipping coffee on the back patio when he appeared at my gate, hat in hand, trying to look harmless. Dorothy, can we talk? I should have told him to leave, but I didn't. Maybe some part of me hoped he'd be the voice of reason. He sat across from me, his eyes soft, his tone paternal. I know Amber's made mistakes, but she's my daughter. I just want her to have a chance. I folded my arms. And you want me to be the one to bankroll that chance? He hesitated. Yes, you have the means. $1 million is nothing compared to what you've built. My laugh was bitter. It's everything compared to what I've built. Because it's mine and my employees and the people who worked with me to create something real. Amber hasn't earned a dime of it. Frank's voice dropped lower, almost pleading. This divorce is going to hurt Alex. You could stop all of this if you just showed a little flexibility, some loyalty to family. I stared at him, my chest aching. Frank, Alex chose his sister over me. He asked me to burn down my life's work for her. That's not family loyalty. That's betrayal. For a moment, something flickered in his expression, shame maybe, but it hardened quickly. He stood, straightened his jacket. Then I hope you're happy with your money, Dorothy, he said coldly, because you're losing your husband over it. I whispered back, my voice shaking not from fear, but from the weight of the truth. No, Frank, I'm losing my husband because he never stopped being Amber's brother long enough to be my partner. That night, Alex called me. His voice was sharp, worn thin from anger and exhaustion. You're really not going to compromise, not even for me. I've already compromised for years, I said softly. I carried this family, Alex. I paid the bills. I kept the lights on while you played peacemaker for Amber. And when I needed you to stand beside me, you stood against me. Silence. Then his final bitter words. Then you've chosen your company over us. I swallowed hard. My throat burned, but my voice stayed steady. No, you chose Amber over me. The line went dead. I sat in the dark kitchen, the weight of his words pressing down on me. And I knew this wasn't just about a business anymore. This was a war for my survival. The courthouse smelled faintly of old wood and paper, a place where people came to have their lives dismantled or rebuilt by strangers in black robes. I sat at the plaintiff's table beside Veronica, my lawyer, her files neatly tabbed, color-coded, every page sharp as a blade. Across from us, Alex sat stiffly in a gray suit, his tie crooked. His face was pale, but set with determination. Beside him, his lawyer, a man who looked like he had graduated law school last month, fumbled nervously through a thin folder. Amber sat behind them in the gallery, arms crossed, her glare burning into me like a curse. The judge entered. Everyone rose. My heart thudded against my ribs, but I kept my face calm. Case of Reynolds versus Reynolds, the clerk announced. The hearing began. Alex's lawyer rose first, his voice shaky, but trying to sound confident. Your Honor, my client is seeking 50% of the business value, approximately $2.1 million, in addition to spousal support, the marital home, and attorney's fees. The judge raised a brow, flipping through the documents. Does your client dispute the validity of the prenuptial agreement? Yes, Your Honor. We argue the business increased in value during the marriage due to marital contributions. Veronica leaned forward, her tone calm but cutting. Your Honor, the business was founded and profitable before the marriage. The trust documents show it was restructured to protect those assets. My client's husband never worked for the business nor contributed financially. There are no grounds to break the prenup. The judge turned to Alex. Mr. Reynolds, did you provide financial contributions to your wife's company? Alex shifted uncomfortably. No. Did you work for the business in any capacity? No. Then what contributions are you claiming? His lawyer blurted, he provided emotional support, Your Honor. The courtroom went silent. Even the court reporter stopped typing for a second. The judge's voice was flat, unimpressed. Emotional support is a marital duty. It is not grounds for asset division. Do you have anything else? The young lawyer stammered. No, Your Honor. Then the prenup stands. The judge set the papers down. The business and all related assets remain solely with Mrs. Reynolds. Amber's gasp echoed behind us. Alex's face collapsed, the color draining out of him. Next came spousal support. Alex's lawyer asked for $8,000 a month for 10 years. The judge nearly laughed. Mr. Reynolds is an able-bodied man in his 30s. He chooses to work part-time. This court will not subsidize his lifestyle indefinitely. Temporary spousal support of $200 a month for 3.5 years is sufficient. Veronica had predicted the outcome almost exactly. Alex's lawyer tried to protest, but the judge cut him off with a single glare. Gavel, bang, temporary orders filed. The first battle was over. and Alex had lost. As we stepped into the courthouse hallway, Amber stormed past me, muttering under her breath. Alex followed his lawyer, trailing helplessly. But halfway down the corridor, Alex stopped and turned. His eyes found mine, and for a moment he looked like the man I had married, angry, desperate, but still the man I once trusted. "You planned this," he hissed. "All of it. The trust, the prenup. You were just waiting for an excuse to cut me off." I met his eyes steady. "No, Alex. I protected myself after you demanded I burn everything down for your sister. Don't confuse defense with betrayal." His face twisted, grief mixing with rage. "I loved you." "Then you should have chosen me," I whispered, "not her." Amber grabbed his arm and pulled him away. His shoulders slumped as he let her lead him down the corridor, like a soldier marching to someone else's war. I stood there, Veronica at my side, the weight of the moment pressing down. This wasn't just a marriage unraveling. This was the revelation of what had always been true. Alex was never really mine. He had always been Amber's brother first, and now I finally saw it in the harsh light of the courtroom. After the courthouse, I thought maybe, just maybe, things would calm down, that Alex would accept reality, lick his wounds, and move on. But Amber wasn't built for surrender, and neither apparently was Alex. The harassment started small. Late-night texts, anonymous phone calls that hung up the moment I answered. A new voicemail every other day, Amber screaming, threatening, accusing me of destroying her future. "You think you've won," one of them said. "You haven't. People don't forget. Alex doesn't forget. You'll pay for this." I saved every message, sent them to Veronica. She told me to keep documenting. Then came the envelope. It arrived at my office one Tuesday morning. My receptionist dropped it on my desk, her eyebrows raised. Special delivery, no return address. I opened it carefully. Inside was a single crisp $100 bill, torn cleanly into 4 pieces. Alongside it, a note written in jagged, furious handwriting. "I don't need your charity." I stared at the pieces of paper money, my hands cold. It was Amber's handwriting. I knew it instantly. I taped the bill back together that night and placed it in a small frame on my desk. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder. Sometimes the smartest investment is the one you don't make. But the deeper betrayal was yet to come. A week later, I met an old friend of Alex's for coffee. Someone who'd quietly drifted away during the chaos. She leaned across the table, her eyes troubled. "Dorothy, I think you should know something. Alex and Amber, this was never just about the business. They had a plan." My stomach turned. "What plan?" She hesitated, then said it. "Amber told me months ago she was going to use Alex's marriage to secure her startup. She said if you gave them the money, Alex would leave you anyway, that the business would be their exit strategy." The words rang in my ears like gunshots. Exit strategy. So that was the truth. Amber's $1 million dream had never been about success. It had been about escape. About using me until I was dry, then discarding me. And Alex, he went along with it. The man I'd trusted, the man I'd believed in, had been prepared to sacrifice me for his sister's fantasy. That night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, Alex's words echoing back through the months. "Family helps family. You're choosing money over us. You'll regret this." All of it, every demand, every argument, every slammed door, was part of their setup. I realized something then. Something bitter but liberating. I hadn't just lost a husband. I had never really had one. I had been married to Amber's brother all along. The final divorce hearing came faster than I expected. 3 months had passed since Alex first said the words, "I want a divorce." 3 months of sleepless nights, tense silence, and Amber's venom dripping into every corner of my life. That morning, the courtroom felt colder, sharper. The stakes were clear. This was the end. The judge flipped through the file's expression flat. "I've reviewed the prenuptial agreement and the trust documents. They are valid and enforceable. Mrs. Reynolds retains full ownership of her business, the marital home purchased prior to marriage, and all premarital investment accounts. Mr. Reynolds will receive temporary spousal support of $200 a month for 42 months. Each party will cover their own legal fees." His gavel hit the wood. Divorce granted. Just like that, my marriage was reduced to a line item on the docket. Alex didn't look at me as the courtroom emptied. Amber, seated behind him, leaned close and whispered something in his ear. He nodded once, eyes hollow. But in the hallway, he stopped me. "You think you've won, Dorothy?" His voice was ragged, shaking. "You didn't win. You just traded your marriage for a stack of papers." I studied him, taking in the man I had once trusted more than anyone, the man who had chosen his sister's delusions over our vows. "I didn't trade anything," I said softly. "You threw it away. You put Amber above us, above me." His hands clenched. "She's my sister, and I was your wife," I whispered. But you never saw the difference. For a second, something flickered across his face. Regret, maybe. But Amber tugged his sleeve, pulling him back toward her orbit. He let her. He always let her. That night, as I sat at my kitchen table, my phone buzzed with a message from one of Alex's old friends. A single line that made my blood run cold. Amber bragged months ago that Alex was only staying with you until the money came through. After that, they were going to use the divorce to bleed you dry. The words seared into me. So it had been true. Amber hadn't just poisoned my marriage, she had plotted its end. And Alex, he had gone along with it. I pressed my palms against the table, my chest tight. It hadn't been a marriage. It had been a setup. A long con with Amber pulling the strings and Alex handing her the rope to tie me with. The realization didn't break me. It freed me. Because now I knew the truth. I hadn't lost Alex. I had lost the illusion of him. And I wasn't going to let their betrayal define me. When the house was quiet, I walked into my office. The framed $100 bill Amber had torn sat on the shelf. I touched the glass, feeling a strange calm wash over me. That was all their scheme had ever been worth. Torn paper, empty promises. And me, I still had my company, my people, my future. Alex had Amber, and nothing else. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, the air in my life finally felt lighter. For the first time in years, I could breathe without waiting for the next demand, the next argument, the next ambush from Alex's family. My company was thriving. We had landed 2 new clients, revenues were up 18%, and my employees, 12 people who had stood by me through the chaos, were finally seeing the rewards. At our quarterly meeting, I announced the biggest bonus pool we'd ever distributed. The look on their faces reminded me why I had fought so hard to protect this business. Because this company wasn't just mine, it was theirs too. And they had earned it. Not Alex, not Amber. Through mutual acquaintances, I heard whispers about their lives. Amber never had a real business plan. No clients, no strategy, nothing but a fantasy dressed up in buzzwords. The $1 million she wanted was never for a consulting firm, it was for a lifestyle. A luxury car to impress people, a fancy office she couldn't afford, and a salary she hadn't earned. Now she was unemployed, living back with Lorraine and Frank, her dreams reduced to bitter rants on social media. Alex, well, he was working odd jobs, teaching yoga classes in strip mall studios, taking shifts at a retail store, trying to scrape together enough to cover rent, except he wasn't paying rent. He was back at his parents' house, too. The man who once accused me of choosing money over family was now entirely dependent on the family he defended so fiercely. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt sad. Sad for the man he could have been if he'd chosen differently. Sad for the marriage that could have survived if he had ever chosen me instead of Amber. One evening, as the sun set through my office windows, Leo, my business partner, noticed the framed $100 bill on my shelf. "What's that?" he asked, eyebrow raised. I smiled faintly. A reminder. Of what? That sometimes the best investment you can make is the one you refuse, even when it costs you people you thought you loved. Leo studied me for a moment, then nodded slowly. That's dark. No, I said quietly. That's survival. Now, when I walk into my office each morning, the framed bill catches the sunlight, torn taped back together, useless as currency, but priceless as a lesson. Because at the end of it all, I learned the hardest truth of my life. Some people build, some people take. And if you don't protect what you've built, the takers will strip it from you without hesitation. I lost my husband. I lost